X-Pac 12360, featuring weekly news, insider commentary, and interviews with superstars, past and present from the world of pro wrestling.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your host, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360, everyone. Yeah. Had a good weekend this weekend.
Tell us about it.
I will, but first, let me just tell you how much we really appreciate you listening to the show and want to learn more about you. If you have a minute to spare, I would really appreciate it if you visited www.podsurvey.com to fill out a short survey telling me who you are and what you like to do. This information will be used to help me create content for the show and to find advertisers you want to hear from, which helps us keep the show on the air and pay the bills around here. Thanks again. And if you have time, please do visit www.podsurvey.com to complete the survey and help us learn more about you. Thank you for indulging me as I read that.
All right.
And now we're on to the show. And we're going to have a great show today because how long has it been? 100 shows since he's been on?
100 shows, yeah.
And especially since I discovered the YouTube channel 106 North Albany, and it's just loaded with championship wrestling from Florida stuff dating back to the 60s even, and I'm in heaven. And so it made me think of this guy today, and he's been called a lot of things: Prince of Darkness, Dungeon Master, you know, all kinds of things. Taskmaster, and like not only like I consider him a friend and colleague, but like I grew up being in awe of this guy. Kevin Sullivan's going to be on the show, and I'm really excited. Yeah.
Whoop.
Boy, it took me a long time to spit that out, didn't it?
Well, you gave him a great intro. There's nothing wrong
Well,
with
he's
that.
the man.
Yeah.
I mean, like
5 decades.
you would not believe how scared people were of Kevin Sullivan in the state of Florida. I mean, petrified. That stuff, you know, and he talked about, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna do a repeat, you know, of like all the stuff we talked about before, but you know, like, you know, in Florida, the you know, people thought that this stuff he was spewing was like satanic, and it wasn't. It was Hindu stuff.
Sure.
But it really, the way he did it, came across really, you know, anyways, it was amazing stuff to grow up watching.
Good delivery does wonders.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And just and it was just the creativity that was involved. So, yeah. So there's, you know, a few different things going on in wrestling, and one of them is, oh yeah, before I talk about that, I had a great weekend.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, last weekend, the prior weekend, I was at Alamo City Comic Con. I don't know if I talked about it
Not much,
but it was fun. You know, I was there with Dustin and
Goldust.
yeah, Dustin Rhodes, Gold Dust.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to him right now. You know, Dustin's been pretty open about his struggles, and you know he's been sober for a long time and clean. But that doesn't mean we still don't go through shit. And Dustin's going through a little shit right now, man. He shared with people, you know, on Twitter, just about, you know, self-worth, and, you know, all those things, and just, you know, just feeling down and sharing it with everyone. And I just wanted to send him some love, and I would encourage everyone else to do that as well. We love you, Dustin.
Absolutely.
But I was with him again this weekend, and
Rhode Island.
well, we were there together. Rhode Island Comic Con. We weren't there together. I was there with Scott and Kev this weekend. Scott, Kev, and I. And I saw Ken Shamrock this weekend. It was great catching up with Ken. He looks incredible. Looks so good. And he's going to start wrestling, having matches. Yeah. He has a match coming up in Australia he was talking about. And I'm happy to see Ken come and get a little piece of this, you know, resurgence in wrestling. He deserves it.
He looks like $1 million plus.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Kenny was there, Road Warrior Animal. We just had on the show. It's always great seeing Joe. Ellsworth was there. And you know who was there? And I didn't go up and say anything to him because I thought we get a chance at some point. And I feel really bad because, you know, I'm, like kind of in awe of this guy too, man. Nathan Jones.
Wow.
Oh, he was at LA Comic-Con
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. I saw him.
And I'm like, if someone knows him and hears this, like, I apologize for not coming up and introducing myself. Goes both ways, though. You could have come over and said hi to us.
When I saw him at LA Comic-Con, he was like running to catch his kid because his kid was just in awe of everything going on. And I like turned and I saw him and I turned back around. And his handler was like, he went to get his kid. He'll be back if you want to like meet him and get a picture or something.
Isn't his film career like really busy?
Oh, he's after Troy. I think it just
And Fury Road, who's in
continued
that.
to grow and grow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Got to see Danny Trejo, and Danny fell in love with Lou. He was, he was obsessed with Lou.
Who is it?
He's feeding her, he definitely won her heart. He knows what's up. He's one of these dog whisperer type people. He loves dogs, and he works and goes out there and helps rescue and save dogs, the scary Danny Trejo is actually,
A big softie.
Yeah, of course.
Did he talk about his taco shop?
Yeah,
Nice.
you mentioned that. Yeah.
Doesn't he have a donut
Yeah, we're
place
gonna
too?
we're gonna connect back here, in town here, and Ice T was there with Coco. And Nate, I don't know if you saw the picture that was tweeted out of all three, me and myself, Scott, and Kevin, and Rick.
Yeah. And then I saw that there was one with you and Danny Trejo
And-
you posted, and Lou. That was really cool.
And anyways,
And lots of fans posted pictures of like meeting you and getting to interact with you. The figures they got signed, the 8x10s they got signed. So everyone seemed to have a really good time.
I'm very grateful that everyone came out, and it was hard to find us.
Really?
So, because we weren't in the main celebrity area, they put all the wrestlers together, and a lot of the guys weren't happy about it. And yes, it did affect it a little bit because a lot of people didn't know we were there even, but we did just fine. It's like, you know what? Thank you. We're happy to be here. People, that want to find us, they came and they found us, and we did well.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing with cons, like any con, like if you know someone that you want to see, like you'll find them. You'll go through the whole
That's right.
brochure. Doesn't matter if there's hundreds of names and booths on there. You will find the person you want to see. So eventually it works out.
So yeah.
And
so
you
how
can
we doing
speak to
on
this.
time? As I'm here rambling on, Marcus.
We're doing great on time.
All right. I mean, as far as the 12:05 for Kevin.
We got 10.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So I just want to right now send some love to Triple H, Paul Levesque, Hunter. I never really call him Paul. Sometimes I call him Paul. Sometimes I call him Hunter. It depends on I don't know. I wonder what it depends on actually. Maybe I should sit here and figure that out.
You've always called him Paul on the podcast. On the podcast, you've always said Paul.
Anyways, so man, you talk about a beast. I know what that feels like, tearing your pec like that. I mean, I showed you just a little bit ago.
You did worse than just tear
way
your
worse
pec.
than that.
You did everything.
Yes. So and I finished the match, but my match had a minute left. He had like what was that, 10, 15 minutes?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, and he still moved it around a lot. Like, he still. They went through all the stuff. I mean, you could tell he was favoring it big time, but still, like they still finished the match. I mean, from what you could tell, I mean, none of us can tell if they subtracted anything. It's hard to tell that, but it. I'm like, just man, what a tough son of a bitch! Holy shit! Wow.
You said the torn pec. That was the most painful thing you've ever gone through.
Oh yeah. Well, it wasn't the pec tear, which was incredibly painful, or the bicep tear. It was the compartment syndrome that came with it that I showed you the picture of.
It's just like stabbing pain. Not
Yeah,
just,
it's amazing. Like when they were telling me that like I could lose my arm, I'm like, I almost was thinking, take it, man. If this shit feels like this, like, obviously I didn't want that, but like those thoughts go through your mind when you're experiencing that much pain.
And he showed a picture. I mean, just his whole entire right side, just black and blue. All the blood rushed to the area, and I think he's going under the knife today.
And it looked like his bicep was torn because the picture. Like I didn't talk to him on the phone, but last night, like during Raw, I was texting back and forth with him, and he was just telling me that no, his bicep's not torn. That was like something caused that from like some patches that he stuck on there, as far as the bruising on the bicep. So thankfully, I was just a pec tear, but those are some big meaty ass pecs to be tearing.
Yep.
You know?
And how long does that take for recovery? Like once the surgery actually happens?
Who knows? And someone like Paul and those guys that worked with Dr. Andrews and some of those doctors that have worked pretty much like worked orthopedic miracles in some cases. Like, I mean, I've seen these guys come back in half the time.
Yeah.
That normally it would take. And
right now, what I've heard is that he is out for WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah,
but we'll
see.
Well,
Play it by ear.
anytime there's a pec tear in that kind of procedure, 6 months is the safe assumption, or longer.
That's what I was going to say, about 6-ish.
At least. But for someone like him, I'm never going to doubt. So.
Is flying with an injury like that?
See,
horrendous?
Yeah, man, that's a bad idea, and I don't know what they must have did to keep that from that what happened to me, that compartment syndrome, like especially when you get up in the air like that can happen up there because you swell anyways.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know if you ever flown, and if you ever take your shoes off when you're flying and then try to put your shoes back on when you land and they won't fit because your feet are swollen. Like, that kind of shit happens when you fly, and especially, how long flight was that?
That's got to be like a 12-hour flight easily.
No, way longer. Come on, man.
No, it's about a 24-hour trip.
Yeah.
I was just back in Pakistan. It's very close. It's 17 hours one way before a layover. Then it could be another couple. Just like with the knee, you have to be really careful with flying. They probably secured it incredibly well.
And blood clots.
Yeah.
I mean,
real careful.
Chris Candido. Flew home, blood clot, dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
And how do you think this also affected the dynamics of this match? Because as we said, this happened earlier on,
Yes.
Obviously, Triple H was helping, work the match and all of this. So, how does that affect, obviously Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Kane? How does that change?
Well, since I wasn't there when, they were talking this thing over and putting everything together, I can only guess. And it does from looking at it, it doesn't look like that much changed after the injury, except for you could just tell he was favoring it. Obviously, some of the stuff wasn't as crisp, or he couldn't grab a hold of for pedigree and that like he would want to. But as far as like any plans change or someone else picking up the slack for the other, I don't think that happened out there. I don't. Like from the looks of it. And Shawn went out there like a boss and just held that shit together. Like he looked better than anyone in that match.
He did, yeah.
The guy that hasn't had a match in, what's it been, a decade?
Like 8 years or so.
Better part of a decade is, and nothing, not slighting Paul, because Paul's always still great out there, but like Shawn was just, I was like, damn, Shawn, man, that was a pleasure to watch. And it really was, man. It was just, and I knew he was going to go out there and like people are going, oh man, he's going to go out there. And like, trust me, man, Shawn Michaels is not going to go out there, even for that kind of money, and embarrass himself.
He's a perfectionist, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He knew he could go out there and do that before he even signed up. So yeah, absolutely. And he covered some things out there. There were some botches on other people. I'm not going to name names, but
there aren't too
covered.
Many names.
Yeah, guys that have been working a lot more than he has. So wow, man, and he's got a nice looking head, nice looking bald head. It's just weird, right? Yeah, it's weird seeing that.
To see him like that.
And Shawn is a guy, and when once the match gets going, he the hair comes down. Well, not so much, towards the end, but Yeah, it would. Yeah, and the hair would go flying when he would sell, and register punch, and so we don't have that when we, cut the hair. That's one of the big things why wrestlers had long hair. Mm-hmm. Mind you, it was because it was cool, but the other part was like, it was really a good visual when the hair would go flying. So, yeah. All right. What else is going on? We got 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Well,
49,
I guess really
48,
quickly, do you want to
47.
talk about Survivor Series? We do have some matches coming up. November 18th is the show here in Los Angeles. And, okay, so we're going to start off with Ronda and Becky because last week you talked about how you thought that it was a bad idea that it was already a singles match between them. So now that, it is a singles match, not a team match,
Hey,
what do you think?
No use bitching about it now because they made the decision and it's great now too. It's just, I personally would not have, I don't want to say wasted, I would not have used this singles match on Survivor Series when they could have gotten a ton out of a Team Becky versus Team Ronda.
But do you think that though,
Survivor Series
Becky is one of the best people that Ronda is going to be in the ring with,
Yeah.
and this is going to make Becky even a bigger star. So do you see that maybe instead those could be the pros of having this match a little bit earlier?
Yeah, that's fine, but she'd still be getting the rub even in a Survivor Series match. I mean, you're still facing off against Ronda Rousey. You're still in a feature match, and you're also saving because you can't go back. I mean, well, I guess you can. You can go backwards, but I just think I would have done this different.
Agreed.
That's all. I'm backing up a little bit on calling people stupid or whatever last week. That's just me being a dumbass.
But I think
not a
keep in
dumbass,
mind
but,
too, I think they might be struggling to come up with a card that's going to fill out 3 hours because it's so soon. I think maybe that's part of the reason that these champion versus champion matches are happening. It's kind of maybe short term, trying to come up with stuff. Maybe, I don't know.
And another match that was also announced, which was Brock Lesnar will be taking on AJ Styles, which we've seen this match in the past. It was incredible, and now it's going to happen again. Any thoughts?
No, not yet. It's not. I'm not that caught up in the plot right now. So next week we can talk about that.
Sounds good.
Hey, before we take a break and come back, Kevin Sullivan, I'd like to tell you a thing or two about Blue Chew. If you're looking to last longer and go a few extra rounds, go to BlueChew.com. BlueChew.com has the first ever chewable that brings your performance in the bedroom to another level. Check this out. They've got the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so they work. Mm-hmm. Johnny, you know.
I know. I use Blue Chew, and she called back. What up, everybody?
Oh, you got a rematch?
Yeah, we're dating now.
Are you going an hour through? Are you going?
No, of
Broadway?
course not. I'm not doing an Iron Man. No, but nonetheless, it's still better than I've ever been.
So since they're chewable, they'll work faster than a pill, and that's true too. Even on a full stomach.
Yeah.
Not that you want to get busy on a full stomach, but if it happens, like you pop a cup of chew, you wait 20, 30 minutes, boom.
I took mine while eating nachos. That was fine.
Yeah. So and they, you know what? They taste like kind of like sweet tarts a little bit.
They do.
Well, anyways.
Skittles.
Yeah.
For your.
And they come in this neat little, where is it?
Discreet packaging.
Very discreet packaging. You're not going to know what it is. No one's going to know what it is.
See, check it out.
Boom.
It's this envelope, and it's got these little,
We've got the product on hand.
the little singles in there.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Dude.
And it's just great to be able to carry these around like that. So where was I? Since they're chewable, they work faster than the pill. I already said that part. Mm-hmm. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And the Cialis one, like I take that also. It helps for the guys my age and helps with our prostate. So just even if you're not getting busy, like take one of these every day, just for prostate health. And that's not Blue Chew telling you that, by the way. That's my own little anecdote. It's actually medical. My doctor does prescribe it to me for that.
Sure.
But anyways, so yeah, and this stuff is definitely cheaper than those other two, Viagra and Cialis, especially like if you go to the doctor and, go have it filled at the pharmacy and your insurance doesn't cover it. Holy shit.
No doubt.
Anyways, plus you don't need to go to the doctor's office for this. Or spend time waiting in the pharmacy line because Blue Chew ships straight to your door in discreet packaging. Kind of like this. So, anyways, hey Denise, did
Yes.
you get any Blue Chew for your boyfriend yet?
I have not, but I definitely should.
Use
though.
my promo code
I will.
bluechew.com/X-Pac. That's bluechew.com/X-Pac. Oh, I'm supposed to tell you about the great deal.
Yeah, tell us about the great deal.
Yeah, visit bluechew.com and get your first shipment free when you use promo code XPAC. Just pay $5 shipping. And if you do, I want you to send us your proof of purchase and we'll send you something signed. It might be an 8x10. It might be a, what's half of an 8x10?
4x5.
It might be
Or
the
something
wrapper of
like
the
that.
Blue Chew.
You know, but just an appreciation for you supporting our sponsors, especially Blue Chew. Because Blue Chew, like for everyone, like all the wrestling fans out there that enjoy all the incredible free content that's available out there right now, Blue Chew helps support a lot of that, including us.
Keeps the lights on.
Yeah. So special thank you to Blue Chew.
Yes.
You know, not just for, you know, making the bedroom experience better, but also for supporting some amazing wrestling content out there so that people, you know, listening and watching can indulge themselves without having to pay.
And you feel great when you take one. It's not anything that you're going to feel overly affected by other than the positive effects. And so I was very pleasantly surprised by that. So thank you, Blue Chew.
Yeah, thank you. Again, that's bluechew.com, promo code XPAC. All right, we're going to take a break and be right back with Kevin Sullivan. Welcome back to X-Pac 12360, everyone. Joining us over the phone right now and somebody that you guys heard me how excited I was earlier and going on. And like, you know, I grew up watching this guy. I was in awe of this man. And then I became a colleague of his, and I'd like to think I call him a friend. And he's one of the guys that I'm, you know, I don't get excited about a lot of guests, he's been on before, and he's back, and he's Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm so sincerely, like everything I just said, Kevin, I'm so sincerely like excited to have you on the show again, man.
You know, and you know you're one of my favorites, and you know I always say that some people don't get credit for credit they deserve. Like the NWO, you were the intricate part in that, and I like to ask you, Posse, this. There's been two in my whole time I've been in the wrestling business, two great factions, the NWO and DX. There's only one guy that's been in both.
Ooh.
Explain that to me, why he isn't in the Hall of Fame.
You know how that goes.
People are.
It's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
But
It's like Meltzer always says, it's up to Vince.
yeah, but this guy, there are things that will stick out forever in the wrestling business, good or bad. Like tugboat falling through the wall and Shockmaster, right?
Yeah.
The parody they did with the Four Horsemen, where Sean was crying like Flair.
Yeah.
Those guys were like schoolgirls pissed off in the back.
Boy, were they
I
ever, Kevin.
loved it. Oh, they were so hot because it was so true. Parody is, you know, close to reality, and it was so good. And the thing about the NWO was before Hogan turned, you had a giant, and Kevin was huge at the time. You had a guy that looked like Tarzan.
Yep.
Then you had the punk guy that you'd say, and then he had the camera, and he was doing crazy things, running the Steiners off the road, and crazy things like that. People going, they're all nuts, but I know the two guys will beat me up, but the other guy may burn my house down.
Exactly. And have sex with your wife or something.
Yeah.
Kevin, you know that you just brought it up, and I've talked about this here and there, and because it's one of my favorite things I've ever done, and that was running the Steiners off the road. And did you ever see it? Okay, yeah, and so and we've talked about this and how they played it one time, and then standards and practices wouldn't allow it to be played anymore. No more.
Amazing.
Right.
So yeah,
And it was done so well in the camera. Do you remember when you first came up with the idea and gave it to me?
you keep
We were
giving
in
me
the
credit
back
for
of
that.
Robots Arena. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And it was where the Robots Arena guys used to have also like a 4-H club once a year.
That's right, because it
And
was the
here he is.
fairgrounds. Yeah.
He calls me over like, come here, I got to talk to you. And I'm going into a stall. I think I'm going, no, him. They're going to push me in knee deep of horse shit or something. And he says, I got this idea. And it was so out of the box thinking. It was fabulous. And I mean, they did, the reason why it worked, it was the personalities, but they did things that people hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And they were, you know, they were the hottest baby faces and hottest heels. And I've said this before. Even today, I go to a convention and I say, I'll be talking about the NWO, and guys will say, well, they didn't want to do jobs. Go to Charlotte, all three of them are laying in the ring, giving up in the middle.
All three.
I mean, all
Yeah.
three of them in the middle of the ring, giving up in Charlotte, and the people in Charlotte are jumping in their pants, for Christ's sakes. And they did business all the time, but they knew when to do business.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's the key. It isn't being afraid to do a job. When you're this hot, you got to be careful when you do it. And when they did it, it was draining to the audience. They finally got to see it.
Yep.
So they could come back the next week and get all kinds of heat.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it was orchestrated very well. And I had a little to do with it, but mostly.
Oh come on, Kevin! You had a ton to do with it.
No, mostly my thing was saying, "What are you guys going to do?"
Yeah.
So it was great.
Hey, you know, Kevin, since you're talking about that, like I understand how uncomfortable that was for all the baby faces to have to go through all that without knowing, like, okay, when is there light at the end of the tunnel? And because it didn't seem like there was any for them for a while there.
Yeah, and if you remember,
but they were dead. There was hardly a baby face there that anyone gave a shit about.
Here's the thing: we weren't drawing anything. The pay-per-views were flat.
Right.
You guys came in the famous one in Orlando where they called the police. They thought you guys had actually invaded. And my contribution was saying, whatever you do, don't hit him with the baseball bat. I nod my head,
yeah.
Yes, hit him. And it took off. And these guys would come out to me, the baby faces, and saying, when are we going to get our chance? And I'd say to them, to be a knight in shining armor, you have to be the fire-breathing dragon, not a salamander.
Yeah.
Let's give them some fire yet. I mean, and the heat was instantaneously. And
yeah.
I think with you guys and on the other channel, Stone Cold changed the business where it was cool to be an anti-hero. You guys would cheer just as much as you booed. And the guys, listen to what I'm going to say. All you guys in your studio with you and lady, I saw the damnedest thing I ever saw in my life.
Oh yeah.
I go up to watch the matches in Dayton, Ohio.
I thought it was Canton, but it was Dayton.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I was watching the Crips and the Blood. There were two gangs. They had flags, WCW, NWO flag, and they were fighting in the audience, and the cops were arresting them and throwing them over that little short reel. And I said, boy, the people have really bought into this. You know, it's like they not only gangs, they were choosing teams.
Yeah, like hooligans in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, the hooligans in Europe at the soccer games.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It really was.
Yeah, it was never anything like that before. I mean, I don't know if I've never seen anything like that since, Kevin.
You know, and unfortunately, they try to recapture it and try to do it. And, you know, they try to do the Shield. And believe me, I think these kids today are the best athletes of all time to be wrestlers.
Yeah.
But this was three unique personalities. And I always go back to the thing you did with the Four Horsemen. And this is not knocking those three kids, but I don't think they could have pulled that off. And I always judge things. Could those three guys pull it off? Could anybody ever pull off a hard time interview but Dusty?
No way.
Could anybody do the woo like Rick?
No way.
Could anybody at his time do the Hulkamania? I mean, we're lacking that today, and I think that's the unfortunate thing is I believe these kids could do it if they let them do it and didn't script anything for them. Because when you meet them, they're very personable outside the ring. I mean, I never met Mark Henry until a few years ago, and he came up to me and introduced himself, and he's personable, he's intelligent, he's got this humorous side to him, but you could tell, you know, when he gets serious, he's a scary individual.
Yeah, he is.
And then I look at some of the things that the interviews they did, and it's almost like, okay, we're going to tone these interviews down because we don't want anybody to get over the three letters WWE. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something to be said for that, Kevin.
Yeah. You think so too?
Yes.
Don't you think so?
Yeah. Yeah. Where they don't want like I've heard, and like it's not like anything, you know, official, but I've heard the mentality is like they don't want to create another, you know, somebody bigger than the brand. You know?
Okay. When I started, this went into my head when I started to think about it, was when Hogan wrestled The Rock in Toronto, which I thought was a horrible decision in Toronto, because when him and Orndorff feud was over for a couple of years, they just threw the match up there. They drew 70,000 people.
Oh, at the outdoor stadium, yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah. So I thought that was a bad place to put that match. And then the people didn't want to see Hogan lose anymore. He's like Ali at the end of his career. Right. We don't want to see him lose. But that night afterwards, The Rock made the great interview. Finally, the Hulk came back to the Hulkamaniacs. Great thing. Then Kevin and Scott come down. If Kevin and Scott had screwed those guys over and beat them up and left them laying, you couldn't have shoehorned people into the building.
Actually, Hulk did me a solid that time, because I was out hurt when they came back, and when Hulk turned babyface, I came out and blindsided him with the chair, and he got colored for me, and that was my intro back into, you know, from 10 months being off. So that was an incredible thing that was done for me. Actually, I was able to leave WWE on, you know, in main events. But hey, Kev, I was to go back to what we were talking about in WCW and that real heat, Kevin. That was your specialty. And real quick, I just want to talk about those baby faces that were uncomfortable. Those same baby faces, when it was all said and done, were more over than they had ever been in their entire lives. Sting, Lex Luger, DDP, you know. So those guys ended up doing really well from that. And, right?
Oh, here's what I'm going to say. The only one that was half over before you guys came was Sting, but it was the blonde-headed Sting,
Yeah.
okay? And he had started to lose his steam.
For sure.
Luger, he had been the Lex Express. He'd been the number one guy for Crockett. He had been the number one guy for WCW. Didn't draw unless it was against Flair for the title, and then they didn't want to put the title on him, so that killed him off. Diamond Dallas Page, he went through. He used to come out with a mink coat, his beautiful wife, a medallion that looked like a hubcap around his neck, two-color hair. He didn't get over until you guys said, "Hey, we're going to make you the working man's Dusty Rhodes with the jeans and come out with the ribs hurt sometimes." I mean, those guys were never going to get over. Never. And they were so coddled before they got their way when they would say, "Oh, I love Lex to death.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
Lex to death." But Lex would say to me, "Well, Lex Luger wouldn't do that." Well,
That's right.
I had a great answer for those guys then. I'd say, "Well, go talk to those three and see what they want
Right.
to do then." Oh, well, we'll go ahead and do it. Yeah. I see what your point is.
But we took care of Lex. We love Lex too, and we took care of him. It was time for us to get heat. But when we gave it back to Lex, he was so fucking white hot. Excuse my F-bomb. He was so white hot, man. By the time it was all said and done, Hogan was dropping the fall to him on TV.
When you guys got him hot, and we booked that match, Luger and Hogan on TV, there wasn't anybody in America thought he was going to put Hogan in the rack and win the belt. Nobody. And it was because of you guys getting the heat on him. They were expecting somebody to run down or some kind of thing.
Yep.
And like what I said before, when you guys did finishes, it was in the middle of the ring. There was no question that you lost.
Yep.
And that's what means something. And you guys had Luger over really strong. It was the strongest he ever was. And the rack meant something then, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we could go for a false finish. I remember one time you were working with him in a real small town. It was a house show.
Yep.
And he went to do the rack, and because you're so athletic, you grabbed the top rope and actually took him over with you by grabbing his arm with your legs. You both hit the floor. And I can remember this. You posted him.
Yeah.
You rolled back in the ring. He came in. You went to, I think, to give him a clothesline. He ducked. You hit the ropes. And he picked you up and put you in the rack. The people went crazy.
Yeah.
He couldn't have got a popcorn fart for that guy.
Popcorn fart. But you know what, Kev? Actually, he listened. It was easy to work with Lex when he was over, because all you had, as long as he listened. But you know what I was getting to about the real heat is I think that's a thing of the past, Kevin. I don't think they're able to get that real heat anymore.
No, I don't think they can, but I also think they sabotage themselves with the social media.
Yep.
Right after the match, they'll text one another, and this is why I say, and you agree with me, that WWE isn't going to let anybody get over those numbers.
Yep.
Or letters, rather. They will say, "Oh, great match, thank you very much." The only one that doesn't seem to do that is Brock, and there's a mystique about Brock.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there should be somebody there looking at what they're sending out and have to get it okayed before they send stuff out.
Yeah, I agree with that,
You
Kevin.
know what I'm saying?
Do you know who does an amazing job is Tommaso Ciampa.
I was just going to say he's the one guy. Yeah.
If you look at his social media, he stays heel. I mean, he's a heel in his dreams, Kevin, when he's dreaming in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and guys that are on Independence and Impact Sammy Callahan
Yes.
when he hit Eddie Edwards with the ball bat.
Yes.
And everybody thought he was going to apologize. He said, "You guys should be talking about me. You should be talking about me." And people were hot at him.
Yeah.
For, that's how you can bring it back. I mean,
Things like that.
It's never going to go all the way back, but they'll still believe in something.
Yeah. Hey, so speaking of that kind of thing, are you familiar with what Austin Aries did at that Impact pay-per-view with Johnny Morrison?
No, tell me which one you're talking about. The title thing?
Yeah, it was the title match. Johnny Impact wins the title, and within seconds, Aries essentially popped up, left the ring, apparently flipped the bird to Don Callis and the cameras, and left. And no one knows what or why. There's no answers yet.
And so people are, is it a work? Is it like, who knows? And why don't we just not be so set on figuring that out and just enjoy the craziness,
That's what I was just going to say. Let's enjoy it. You know what that reminds me of? What it reminded me of? Brian Pillman.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
The biggest compliment I got was when you and Nash said, along with
I thought it was real.
Guys.
I thought it was real.
Yeah,
I was in the business, deep in the business.
Yeah, and people got and watched the paper because they thought it was real. So, hey, let's enjoy it. Let's not dissect everything. Let's enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And there's been some controversies this last couple of weeks, too, about the Saudi Arabia thing.
Yep.
Okay. You're a company that's traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, the right thing to do morally or not, they get a contract and they get an obligation to the people buy their stocks. So they did, in my estimation, the right thing because they would have, first of all, got their sued through the gazoo. Their stocks were falling through to the bottom. And I mean, I also give the guys credit that didn't want to go. And back in our day, that wouldn't have happened.
No way.
Right?
No, they'd be
never
done.
allow that.
They'd be done.
I give them credit for letting the guys make that decision. So there's been a movement now in the wrestling business we're starting to see more positive things. So I like what's going on, and let's enjoy, like you said, the Aries and Johnny, and enjoy it, and rather than argue about it. Let's go back and look at it and see if we can figure something out about it, and hopefully. Let's look at the next thing they're going to do, because they're going to try to top something like that if it is a work. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I do too. As long as no one's hurt, and I mean, some people might not be in on what's going on, maybe in the promotion, and that can rub people the wrong way. But still, come on, just enjoy everyone.
And Kevin, do you feel like? This goes back to your point about factions getting so much heat back in the day. Do you feel like in this modern era of social media, the fourth wall is constantly being broken way too often, and it's taking fans out of it a little bit?
Yeah, I think that, but the thing was, you got to remember, these guys came unannounced. They actually, and they tried to do it with the Shield, walking through the audience, correct? But these guys came unannounced, and they left on top. This looked like, hey, and we didn't use their names.
Right.
We didn't say Diesel or Nash or Hall or Waltman for a long time, and it was, I don't know if you had the most unique three guys in the business, and then when you added Hogan, another guy from New York, you're using the 12 years of push they got in New York, and then they brought them here with new opponents and blew the place up. I think it can happen again? I'd love to be able to say yes, but boy, catching that lightning in the bottle twice is hard.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as like maybe pulling the curtain, closing the curtain again, so like people can't see as much behind the scenes, and maybe just okay, kayfabe is dead in the sense that everyone knows it's a show, and all that, but still, can't we kayfabe talking to good bad heels, talking to baby faces? Can't we protect the storylines more outside of work and help bring a little more of that mystique back?
I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%.
Is that doable?
I think yes, because how you start, in my estimation, is you stop showing all the interviews backstage.
Yeah.
I mean, this hit me the other night. I was watching the Patriots play the Packers, right? Now it was a big rivalry. Well, after the show, after the game, they showed them on the field. And I said, I've never seen a football game where they go into the locker room. It's like church. It's a sanctuary.
Yeah.
You don't allow the people back there. And we used to be that way.
That's
they
right.
would never allow it. I think if you started it slowly and eventually got rid of it, you could shoot a hell of an angle if you left it alone for a year, where you would be cutting a promo and saying, or rather than that, Babyface is cutting a promo and saying, what's the time we're in on Friday at St. Louis? Okay, we'll be back. And you guys come in and jump on somebody and beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And the tape was running, and they don't want to show the tape, and you guys, being the heels, get a slimy judge to say, yeah, they're going to show the tape. It's like anything else. They've done it too often, and they're doing it now, in my estimation, for nothing. There's nothing comes out of it. If there was something coming out of it that was a real hot angle, I say, yeah, do it. But there's not.
Kevin, earlier you were talking about scripted promos and, saying they should let the guys go and kind of do a little bit more of their thing. Obviously, we know that you were absolutely great at promos. So I want to know, do you think that you would have been able to adopt, get used to doing the scripted promos like back in the day?
If they write the check, you'd have to.
So what advice do you give to the guys that are doing scripted promos to make it, better?
But I'll give you an example. I know what you're saying. Terry Funk went up there to do something with one of the guys where he was passing the torch, and they gave him a script, and he said, hand it back. He said, no disrespect, but nobody knows how to do Terry Funk better than Terry Funk. And I think that's the problem. I mean, I think that some of these young guys that are so talented, if they let them go on their own, and okay, if they don't hit it out of the park, Sean, there was a lot of guys in our era that didn't hit it out of the park. But the ones that did were entertaining as hell.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And even if they didn't, Kevin, even if they didn't, those promos and those interviews and everything were still coming from a more authentic place. And people could tell.
I agree with you 100%. It's like watching 3 movies and 2 of them just so-so, but one's great, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But the other ones weren't bad, but the other one really stood out.
Yeah.
So I agree with you 100%.
Kevin, you would be one of the guys that, they will give a lot more leeway to and just give you like your verbiage and probably go here, do, make it yours.
Bullet points.
Yeah, make it yours. Because they do. Some people do. The guys that go out there and crush it on promos are like, get more leeway. So I know that's a thing now.
Okay.
So now, what was it like working with Brian Pillman when he was developing the character of the loose cannon?
Well, he was so far into it. I mean, he I've said this before, and I want all your guys' input on this. If he had lived, do you think they would ever talk about any other feud but Pillman and Austin.
Wow.
That would have been the feud, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that gun was pulled. I mean, that was, whether you liked it or not, everybody's still talking about
That's
it.
right.
What, 20-something years later? And if Brian hadn't broken his ankle and could still move, the matches would have been incredible. And Brian was like, one of those method actors. He would get into that thing. I remember when we went to Europe for 10 days. We went to Germany and Switzerland. He got to the bus late every day. He slept in the bus till we got to the building. Went to the building, slept to the building till the referee woke him up before his match. He didn't say a word to anybody for the 10 days. And that's how he was getting into it. I mean, people were starting to think he was slipping. He was a phenomenal performer. And that's why I said, if he didn't get hurt, him and Austin would have set records that wouldn't be broken to this day.
Have you had any contact with his son?
Yes, I have. He's a very nice. He
Good
was
kid,
at the
Starcast, and All In.
All In Starcast, All In Starcast. Very nice young man. He looks just like his father, except he's a little bigger. And they did a little something with him and MLW, and I think they're going to form a new Heart Foundation.
Yeah, they have.
With them.
They have.
And I think it would be good. Sean, don't you think it would be good for him because he can be hidden?
Yeah,
with those boys.
Hey, honestly, good for him, good for Teddy and Harry Smith. Like honestly, like
right.
I like that though. Like I can, we can, like, yeah. It's kind of a synergy. Like the sum is greater than the parts sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I like those other two guys too.
Yeah.
Especially. And as much as they've been around, they haven't been overexposed. So
right.
I think it's brand new, and it's going to be very good when it clicks.
Hey, do you? How is that? Like, do you watch MLW TV?
I was on a show, believe it or not. You want to hear a funny thing?
Yeah.
I was on that show they did, Wrestle Riot.
Yeah.
Where it was like a Royal Rumble, but it was you bring weapons to the ring.
Uh-huh.
I was the only guy that brought a weapon to the ring. I came out and spiked four guys and got the biggest pop of the night.
Of course you did, Kevin.
It's amazing.
Hey,
no, not for myself over, but I was the only one with a weapon. You think they would have told everybody to take a weapon?
Kevin, I keep going back to Heat, and you got away with a lot of stuff down there on Championship Wrestling from Florida, especially for that region. And you had to have gotten in trouble sometime. Come on.
I got in trouble sometimes, yeah. I mean, we got in trouble when Dusty hung me.
Yeah.
I really got in trouble there. But here's where we were lucky, Sean. Eddie had done such work for 20 years, the sheriff and Boys Ranch, the girls' Boys Ranch. Anytime a police officer went down, the wedding, the widow would get money. The mayor of Tampa, at one time when I was babyface, gave me awards on TV. The
Bob Martinez,
state senator. Yeah, great memory. Yeah, and then the state senators gave awards. They gave Eddie an award of the American flag that flew over the State House for years. So they kind of looked the other way most of the time. But yeah, I got in trouble. That one and another one we got in trouble was I wasn't involved in it per se. But Terry and I jumped Dusty, and Terry put a plastic bag over.
Oh, Terry Funk, yes.
Yeah, we got in trouble on that one.
Yeah, because I mean, every now and then. Hey, right now, like there's a B-roll of you throwing the fire in Dusty's face.
Oh, the fireball.
Yeah. Hey, and so Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
I mentioned to Kevin earlier. I came across this YouTube channel, 106 North Albany, and I think it's an official Championship Wrestling from Florida YouTube channel, and it has so much incredible stuff. And I even texted Kevin earlier his loser leave town match where he beat Dusty, and there's a B-roll right. Hey Kevin, do you remember Star Wars '84? You and Buzz Sawyer versus Andre and Dusty at the Sundome.
Sure do.
Wow, because
sure
there's a B-roll of that right now playing as we're talking.
They came in on a cherry pick.
That's right.
Yeah. And Dusty and Andre, and Buzz.
Yeah, Buzz. He was amazing.
Buzz was, he was light years ahead of his time. And, he was a casualty.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us were. And, it seems that the guys that got through are okay. Most of them are okay now. So thank God.
But hey, Kevin, I just remember I was there at the Sundome that night, and there was this like yellow tunnel, and like they had a follow spot, and the fog came out, and Shout at the Devil played, and even the in the beginning part played before the Shout at the Devil came on. Wow, man! When you're like 10 years old and you see that shit, Kevin, man, I got goosebumps thinking about it, bringing me back nostalgia goosebumps right now. Amazing.
That's so awesome. Well, Kev.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kev.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say you.
Oh, Dusty.
Dusty. No, I want to hear what you have to say, not Jimbo.
Here's the thing. Dusty was such a personality. Mm-hmm. I worked with him for 3 years, almost every night in some capacity. Him and me and Mark against him and Blackjack, Mark against him and me on the floor. He was such a personality, and he was so loved. I never heard in 3 years. I never heard the whole time I ever was around Dusty. Any fan ever call him fat or overweight or chubby. Man, when he made a comeback, you guys were nice enough to bring him in at the, give him the rub. If he had been 6 or 7 years younger when you guys came in, the angles you could have given with him, because when he bled, he'd be on his knees, looking up. Oh, he was terrific.
Oh yeah, and like just thinking about. You know what else I was watching, Kevin? Hey, can you comment on this? It was Lakeland Civic Center. It was you and Buzz versus Dusty and Exotic Adrian Street.
Yep, and Miss Linda.
Yep.
She got spiked, right?
Yep.
Is that the one she got spiked?
And you spiked Dusty in the heart, right? And everyone came out and they stretchered him back.
Yeah, I spiked Dusty in the heart, and we did something to Miss Linda.
Yeah.
And rather than go Miss Linda, he went to
Dusty, yep.
And was caring for Dusty, yeah. And that's a crazy thing, Sean. You know how you sometimes say, oh, that's going to get over, and it doesn't.
Right.
And you say, oh, that will never get over. When Adrian's a very good friend of mine, but when he came to Florida, I said, oh, this is a wrestling territory and a violent territory. He doesn't look like to me that he's going to fit in any of those spots. He was a vicious heel.
Fucking right.
And that's where the heat came from. You see this guy dressed like a Alice Cooper or a transvestite or whatever, and then he would come out and beat you up, literally.
Oh yeah.
Beat you up. Yeah, and he could wrestle. So on TV, he'd also, took a little bit of advantage of guys, and he got over big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, and that was I think that was a pretty packed house in Lakeland Civic Center. That place held 12,000 people.
Yeah, that was one of the best towns for me and Dusty. That's the first time that I know of. I stayed underneath the ring, and I was supposed to wrestle Dusty in a cage, and they announced that I had missed my flight. And it was a cage, and Mark wrestled Dusty, and during the match, I kicked through the boards, and I had a linoleum cutter, and I cut the rubber and popped up through the ring. My head looked like the alien.
Wow!
And we came in there and killed Dusty until Mulligan came down, and the baby faces are trying to climb over the ring cage, and we're beating them off. And Mulligan rips the cage off and goes to Dusty, but everybody thinks he's going to make a save. We get on him and juice him up. We had a hard time getting out of there.
Lakeland's a tough town, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and I remember one time the Midnight Rider came out and messed Dusty up, and it was like Gene Lewis, like Karma under there.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Well, I'm sitting here fanboying out on you, Kevin.
That's awesome.
Well, I wanted to talk about a few years back. You were involved in a documentary called Card Subject to Change.
Yeah.
And
right.
You're saying it's being re-released again?
It's being re-released. It's longer, and there's other scenes into it, and it's cardsubjecttochange.com.
Wow.
And you can go and find out how much it costs. But I would like you to do this. A portion of it is going to the American Cancer Fund, and when in the bottom of the check, when it says "for," I want you to put Roman, because this guy, Roman Reigns, has suffered from everybody sending negative energy out to him. This kid looks like a movie star. He's a professional at what he does, and I know he's going to beat this.
Yes.
So, especially you haters and people that knocked him, even if you don't buy this, send something to the American Cancer Society, because I want to see this kid back in the ring. I happen to really like his style.
You know something, Kevin? I think this, we were talking earlier before we, and I love that you're doing this, and that especially for this guy, because anyone that actually really knows him knows he's just a wonderful guy and a great father, and just really has busted his ass, and a lot of the hate that he's gotten is totally undeserved, and I think people get carried away, and I think a lot of those people maybe even now go, yeah, maybe I got a little carried away with the hate here, and maybe some don't, you know what I mean? But these kinds of things, they make people really, take stock and think, and man, Kevin, he's one of us. We're not in the same. We're not the same generation, but this guy's family has always been wonderful to me, and his family, and
this is my fourth generation.
Yeah.
Can I add a little levity to us?
Please.
To this, because you're so sincere. He's one of us.
Absolutely.
He's in the brotherhood. This is my fourth generation. Okay, I wrestled in the second ever Peter Maivia Memorial Championship match in Samoa.
Wow.
I was wrestling Siva Alpha.
Oh, Siva Alpha. Max.
I go, and there's about 10,000 people there in this rugby stadium. Rugby's big in Samoa. And Leah says, I want you to go 30 minutes and get a lot of heat. Leah, Rock's grandmother.
Yeah.
I want you to get a lot of heat on him, and he's going to get some juice, and he's going to make a comeback. And I said, there's no security here. She said, oh, don't worry. They're not going to do anything. I said, Leah, there's no security here.
Hey, who are you working with?
Just go ahead. Siva Alpha.
Oh, Steve Offie. Yeah, that's
him?
right. Yeah, I don't know. I just had a brain fart. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get into the instructions, and they try to make it legit. And when I was getting the instructions, the bell rung. I grabbed him by the tights. I pulled him on top of me. I looked at the referee. I said, count 3. 1, 2, 3. I was back in the dressing room having a beer before they knew the match was over. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm breathing, and I wouldn't
That's
be
right.
breathing if I did what you did.
That's
But
right.
Sean, that was a great thing you said. His family has been around forever. They've paved the way for a lot of people.
Yep.
They deserve, what you said. They're great people.
And also, let's think about this. This is something this guy's been carrying around for 12 years, and no one knew about it. They didn't try to use it to get sympathy for him. And you know how wrestling is, Kev, more than anybody.
Right.
That shit would have been played up years ago.
Yeah. Everybody would have, if he wasn't the type of individual he is, like you said, played up, he would have went to them with an idea and say, hey, let's do a documentary on this, or something that doesn't fit. This guy's kept this to a secret for himself. Can you imagine going, like you said, he's a good father. Can you imagine going to bed every night thinking about, I hope I get to see my kids' baseball game next year. Boy, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's always, you can never, ever not have that hanging over your head. Like, okay, this could come back anytime. Yeah.
Right.
Well, card subject to change. Go to that website, buy the film, and donate to the American Cancer Society for sure.
God damn it. I know there's other stuff I want to talk to you about. But, I know. Hey, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Did Eddie Graham really fly his airplane under the Skyway Bridge with the funks in the plane?
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Holy shit.
And he was drunk.
Wow.
He was drunk, and he flew the plane. And the FAA, they wanted him to stay there because someone had turned him in that he had flown under the Skyway Bridge. He just parked the plane, left it there. The boys got out, got in the car, and he drove off. Nothing ever happened to Eddie.
Because Eddie was like, there might have been a few people that were as powerful as Eddie in the state of Florida, and one of them was the governor.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
and
but no, that's insane.
The truth of it too. Yeah.
Amazing.
Goes to show you the influence of wrestling back then.
Wow.
You can say that.
Hey, all right. Hey, also, Kevin, thoughts on All In?
Oh, when they announced they were going to run, I said, I think they'll do good. But then when I heard they sold out in 29 minutes, boy, this was kudos to everybody on the card. Kudos to Cody, the Young Bucks. Again, everybody on that card. And I watched that show because I didn't go to the show itself, but they had it at the convention.
Yep.
And I watched it. It came across terrific. They performed. And living up to hype, you know this better than anybody, Sean.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do, brother.
That's right, and they did.
They lived up to.
Yep.
They lived up to that hype, and I thought when Cody won the belt, the first thing that popped through my mind was Dusty would have been so proud of the kid.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I said, I wish Dusty was here to see it. I'm sure I saw it, but I wish he was there in person. But, they did a great job, and I hope that there's another one coming soon.
I think there will be. I'm pretty sure there will be. And hopefully another star cast as well. I think that's in the future, too. And it's really cool. You know what? I could keep on talking, but we're coming to the end of the show. I'm gonna stop now. Kevin, man, I can't tell you how grateful I am for you spending some of your time with us today, man. It means so much to me, man.
It means that much to me because you three guys really made me look good, and you guys were the most unique talent that I ever worked for and with, and I want to thank you guys personally on the phone. So
awesome.
Thank you guys.
Kevin, I can't
back there.
I can't wait to the next time we see each other, my friend. Thank you so much.
I can't wait either.
Kevin Sullivan, everyone.
Take care.
Yeah. I'm so happy with that.
That was so cool, man.
I'm so incredibly happy with that conversation just now. So, we're gonna take it home on a high note. Go ahead, Jimbo.
Follow Sean on Twitter at the Real X-Pac. He'll have all his upcoming dates and whatever he's got going on your Twitter, because I don't have any right now. And follow me on Twitter at Jimbo in the Booth.
Oh, I'll be at Blizzard, bro, for with House of Hardcore and all that in Milwaukee on December 1st, I think it is. Cool. Go ahead. Sorry.
As always, you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at _Denise Salcedo, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. Lots of new videos, lots of stuff. Also putting up all like news and updates and stuff going on there.
I'm at Jay Quasto. I'm filming my comedy special this Sunday at the Brea Improv. So if you're in Orange County and you want to go, hit me up and I will tell you how to get tickets. Otherwise, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Arizona every single week.
All right. Well, we'll see you right here next week on X-Pac 12360.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark B. Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at TheRealXpac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.